This is where you can take responsibility and accountability for yourself and your life and not be such a victim to what happens around you. This is More Than Muscle, and today I really want to dive into a couple of different elements that I believe are going to help you substantially in terms of mindset, but also in terms of nutrition and just your overall sense of self, because I think a lot of the time we get very, very discouraged about where we're at, and a lot of that is just very surface level. As in, you may look at yourself, you may look in the mirror, you may not like what you see. And that external concept kind of starts to beat you down and you get really distracted and then you get discouraged and then you don't know what to do next. A lot of the time it's because whatever you see externally is also how you feel internally. And so we need to create some alignment for that. We need to create something that is going to help you feel fulfilled. Even if you see what you want to see in the mirror, if it doesn't align with what's going on internally, it doesn't really matter. But a lot of the time, what happens is that people get very discouraged because everything is so external. And so today, I really want you to start to understand a little more about perspective. Because when you have a perspective, and you understand that there is both one way and another way, and neither of them are good nor bad, you can start to actually create different frameworks around the way you think. Because how you think about yourself really matters. If you think positively about yourself, then you're probably going to follow that up with positive actions. If you think negatively, then you're probably going to sabotage. It makes sense, right? However, a lot of the time people don't realize what they're doing, so they create these habits unconsciously and then they don't know how that even happened. I'll give you a prime example. Sometimes you're like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to, do all the right stuff, right? Take the right actions. I'm going to eat really well. So you start eating well. And then stress starts to come in and then you fall to some negative habits like I'm going to just eat a little bit of this one thing because I have some cravings and I'm tired and I'm stressed and I just want to, it's only one time. And then the next day goes by and you kind of do the same thing. And then the next day goes by and maybe you didn't do it, but then the next day goes by and you do it again. The reason why this happens is because it becomes an unconscious concept for you. In other words, you've done 2 days pretty, poorly, and then you did 1 day well, and you did another day poorly, and then maybe 1 day well, and then another 2 days poorly, and then that stacks up over time. It's never you doing well over the course of a few days. It's all of these negative habits that are happening, that are compounding, and then when you look back, you start to go, how did this extra 10 pounds come on? How did this extra 20 pounds come on? How did that behavior or that negative, habit that I have, how did that get formulated? You weren't noticing it. Just like you probably don't notice every single time you snooze. And if you were to go and count back how many times you snoozed your alarm over the last 30 days, and let's say it was 50% of the time, you did it 15 days out of the month, every second day, or maybe you did a few days in a row, then a few days on, you start to understand that you become an inconsistent person. And so if you want to get better, you have to think about compounding. That means that you have to change your perspective. And to change perspective, you have to zoom out. And I always love to tell everyone this, all my clients, everyone that I work with. Think of a camera. When you zoom in, you only see one part of the picture. When you zoom out, you see the whole lens, like everything that's in front of you. All of it is going to change your perspective. So whenever you are in the midst of something, when you are having an opinion or a judgment, whether it's on yourself, whether it's on others, it doesn't matter. Take a step back, reflect, and zoom out. What are you not seeing? What are you not hearing? What are you not taking into account? Because when you do this, what's going to happen is you're going to start to maybe show compassion if you need compassion. Maybe you're going to show some grace if you need some grace. Maybe you're going to be harder on yourself if you need to be harder on yourself. But you're going to have a full story, because here's what happens to most people. They get stuck in the story that they only see, and the information isn't even all there. When you have more information, you have more of a story. But if you don't have all the information, you're probably going to have a very, very specific perspective that isn't the full picture. And then your actions will align with that. So I really want you to understand the value of preparation, but also reflection. Whenever you're preparing for something, you're trying to do the best that you can with what you know. And so you don't know everything. So let's say that you're trying to tackle your health and you want to do better this week. And so you have some set goals and you have some set drives and things like that. And you go, okay, I want to wake up at this time. I want to hit this many workouts. and I want to eat these meals, and I want to hit these macros, I want to sleep this amount, and I want to do this to manage stress. There's your preparation. That's what has to happen. And so you go into it, but you didn't think about that extra responsibility that you have midweek. You didn't think about a meeting that was going to cause you extra stress during the week. You didn't factor that in. And so when that came up, everything went out the window. And so you then have to go the reflection and go, how can I prepare better next time? If you know that there is a potential that things may go a different direction, you have to learn to be adaptable. But the problem is that people are not adaptable. They kind of go on this road, and then something scares them, something interrupts them, an obstacle gets in the way, and they're like, I don't know what happened. And you're like, well, you weren't adaptable, because resilience comes from adaptability. And that only comes when you have an obstacle in your way and you then pivot and change direction. And it's okay if you have no clue how to do that, because you've got to go back to that reflection, look at what happened, look at what is happening, and then learn how to adapt. So one of the key things that I think most people can probably relate to is taking vacations, taking holidays. So in other words, well, you've got your routine at home. That's easy, right? You can honestly agree that that is easy. When you're at home, you can find a flow, you know how things roll, all those things. But then you go on vacation, it's a different time zone. Maybe you've got some different responsibilities there. Maybe you have to organize a little bit more. Things are out of whack. You're kind of on other schedules, like if you're trying to eat somewhere and they're not open yet, things like that. So you then start to lose your way. So then you become then a victim of whatever it is that you have to do. And then you don't feel good about it because you're not in control. So the people that struggle the most, I will tell you, are the people that want to take control, are used to taking control, but can't take control. Especially if it's external. So then they don't control themselves because they can't control anything around them. So if you resonate with that, you've got to learn to be adaptable, because then you can truly just look straight back at yourself and go, what do I need to do differently? How do I need to be better in this situation? And, using your own routine is the easiest one to work with, because you are in control of your routine. You're in control of when you wake up. You're in control of the food that goes into your mouth. You're in control of your communication, what you do with your time, your energy levels, and what you choose to do every single day. So don't go and act like you're not. This is where you can take responsibility and accountability for yourself and your life, and not be such a victim to what happens around you, because you're truly focused on what's happening within you. And when you do that, you become a better person. You become a better version of yourself. And then you're not just at the mercy of everything and everyone and all these environments. I think that's where people fall short. And I want to encourage you to do this, because I think we live in a very chaotic world where we need more people being calm, and more people that have a calm confidence about them, where they're not necessarily quick to react, they're actually slow to respond. And the difference between reaction and response is reaction is very much a negative. It's more so driven towards the person that just doesn't even think about anything. They just straight away come back at something. Response is when someone can take all the information, have a good judgment as best as possible, and then maybe get curious and then ask questions. Big difference between person A and person B. And that's what we need more of. And if you can truly become that in yourself and in your life, then you will be adding a lot of value out there. But I think it's very easy for us to feel like we're a victim. And here's the thing. I've said this for a long time. We are all just victims of victims. In other words, whatever you have experienced in your life, in your past, it's due to someone else that never healed. So if you are the person that is chaotic, reactive, not adaptable, not resilient, poor me, blame the world, it's because you haven't healed. When you can take responsibility of yourself, this is why Stoicism is just so valuable and so impactful, because all it does is it forces you to look at you. And that's what we need to do more of, right? It's so easy to point the finger at the world. It's much harder to look in the mirror and truly see a reflection that we either like or don't like, and then do something about either one of those. If we like it, do more to enhance it. If we don't like it, do more to enhance it. So it's really the same outcome. And I want to encourage you guys to really look at yourself and take a moment, even if it's for a few minutes every day, to ask yourself some hard questions. Am I being a better version of myself? Truly, ask yourself that. Did I handle situations better than I had in the past? Have I tried to grow? Have I done anything to grow? Have I done something tough today? Have I had a hard conversation? Did I do a hard workout? Did I eat better than I have been in the past? Am I letting food dictate me? That's what you've got to ask yourself. When you have the answers to that, you're probably going to find that you'll get better outcomes. But if you keep looking at the world as if that's the problem, then you're not taking ownership that you are the problem. And so I hope that you can take this and apply this and execute on it. Don't just listen to it. Do something with it, because everything you want is on the other side of fear. So make a move, take action, because you're one decision away from a completely different life.